What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my crypto journey. Of course, my name is Rodney. Do me a favor, smash that like button before we get started. If you like Cronos content, subscribe if you like being here, and follow me on all my social media accounts. Links to everything is in the description of this video. Now, the other day, Kris, the CEO of Crypto.com, made a post on Twitter. It was a 16 tweet thread explaining pretty much that there's going to be FUD targeting Crypto.com coming out of the mainstream media. Well, it has finally hit the market, you could say, right? CNBC published an article talking about the background of Kris, and of course, they shine a negative light on him. Now, as a person who covers cryptocurrency content, regardless of whatever crypto I'm covering for any community, you got to share the good and the bad news, because you don't want to be in a space where they only share the good news. I mean, some people like to live that way, but it's good to know if there's bad news or anything that may be a red flag when it comes to your certain cryptocurrency project. It's important to just be objective with some things, right? Now, we're going to read this article. It's a long article, so buckle up, but it sheds a different light on the CEO of Crypto.com, but it doesn't really shake my confidence as an investor in Kris, because when I read through this whole thing, and although there's some red flags in here, I don't see it as a really bad thing that's going to stop me from investing in Crypto.com. And once I read the article, you will find out. It's very, very long, so buckle up. We'll do some price action after, and then we'll go ahead and talk about this new video where you can check your proof of reserves, right? The proof of your cryptocurrency on the Crypto.com exchange in their app. Now, let's read this article. So it says, Crypto.com CEO has history of red flags, including bankruptcies and quick exits. So, of course, this is Kris. This is our boy right here. So Kris Marszalek, I think that's his last name, Marszalek. If I'm butchering it, I'm sorry. But it says, Kris Marszalek wants everyone to know that his company, Crypto.com, is safe and in good hands. His TV appearances and tweets make that very, very clear. It's an understandable approach. The crypto markets have been in free fall for much of the year, with high-profile names spiraling into bankruptcy. When FTX failed last month, just after founder SBF said the crypto exchange assets were fine, trust across the industry evaporated. And that's true. A lot of people are not trusting crypto because of what FTX did. Marszalek, who has operated out of Asia for over a decade now, and if you guys didn't know, Crypto.com operates out of Singapore. It says, subsequently assured clients that their funds belong to them and are readily available, in contrast to FTX, which used client money for all sorts of risky and allegedly fraudulent activities, according to court filings and legal experts. SBF denied knowing about any fraud. Regardless, FTX clients are now out of billions of dollars with bankruptcy proceedings underway. Now, that's the thing about some of the exchanges, guys. When exchanges go bankrupt, usually the customer that had their money in the exchanges are the last person to be repaid, since cryptocurrency is not insured. So it says, Crypto.com, one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges, may well be in fine health. After the FTX collapse, the company published its unaudited partial proof of reserves, and we know since then they published the whole thing, right? And it says the release revealed that nearly 20% of customer funds were in a meme token called Shiba Inu, an amount eclipsed only by its Bitcoin allocation. Now, a lot of people think this is FUD, but it's a cryptocurrency exchange. So you, the customer, if you want Shiba Inu, you know, Cronos is going to give you Shiba Inu. So it's not the exchange, it's the customer that wants that meme coin, right? So it says that percentage has dropped since the initial release to about 15%, according to Nansen Analytics. So Marszalek said in a November 14th live stream on YouTube that the wallet addresses were representative of customer holdings. So, of course, everything is visible on the blockchain. So on Friday, Crypto.com published an audited proof of reserves, attesting that customer assets were held on a one-to-one basis, meaning that all deposits are 100% backed by Crypto.com's reserves. And that's the difference between Crypto.com and other exchanges, as they're not doing shady things with your reserves. So it says the audit was performed by the Mazars Group, the former accountant for the Trump organization. So I don't know if this is it's kind of putting shame on Mazars Group, but if they were an accountant for Trump, I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing, right? So I don't see that as a bad thing. But a lot of people like to associate Trump with bad things, but it's CNBC. Obviously, these news outlets are very biased politically. So it continues, with no evidence has emerged of wrongdoing. Well, it says, while no evidence has emerged of wrongdoing at Crypto.com, Marszalek's business history is replete with red flags. So what they're saying is, like, there's no evidence that Crypto.com is bad, but let's pull up some things in his business history, right? So this is the FUD he was talking about. So it says, following the collapse of a prior company in 2009, a judge called Marsalek's testimony unreliable. His business activities before 2016, the year he founded what would become Crypto.com, involved a multi-million-dollar settlement over claims of defective products, corporate bankruptcy, and an e-commerce company that had failed shortly after a blowout marketing campaign left sellers unable to access their money. And that last part's very, very interesting. So it says, court records, public filings, and offshore database leaks revealed a businessman who moved from industry to industry, rebooting quickly when a venture would fail. He started in manufacturing, producing data storage products for white label sale, and then moved into e-commerce and finally crypto. So that's pretty much what he's been doing his whole life with businesses, right? It says CNBC reached out to Crypto.com with information on Marsalek's past and asked for an interview. The company declined to make Marsalek available and sent a statement indicating that there was never a finding of wrongdoing under Kris's leadership at his prior venture. So what Kris is saying is like there was never any finding of wrongdoing. So, but you know how the media is, they're gonna find something to talk about. So it says, after CNBC's request, Marsalek published a 16-tweet thread, and we saw all about this, right? We read all about this on Twitter. If you haven't checked out that video, it's up in the cards and in the description down below, where he explains his past business ventures. And he says this, more FUD targeting Crypto.com is coming. This time is about a failed business venture I had early in my career. I have nothing to hide, and I am very proud of my battle scars. So here's the unfiltered story. FUD is short for fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and is a popular phrase among crypto executives. I mean, they're right with that, right? Everyone loves using FUD in this space, especially if you're saying anything bad about their project. They call you a FUDder, right? So it's called, this next part is interesting. It's titled Business Failures, Faulty Flash Drive. So this is about his first business. So Marsalek founded a manufacturing firm called Starline in 2004, according to his LinkedIn profile. Based in Hong Kong. So we see that he's always operating out of some Asian countries, right? Now, when it comes to different countries, obviously there's different tax laws, different business rules, and those sorts of things. So a lot of businessmen obviously move to those countries or operate out of those countries to be the most profitable and to get around some regulations. So that does happen. So if you don't think that's the reason why these guys operate out of different countries, you're super naive. You have to understand that. But it says, based in Hong Kong with a plant in mainland China, Starline built hardware products like solid-state drivers, hard drives, and USB flash drives, so tech. Marsalek's LinkedIn page says he grew the business into a 400-person company with $81 million in sales in 3 years. That's pretty good. It says there was much more to the story. So Marsalek owned 50% of the company, sharing ownership and control with another Hong Kong-based individual who partnered with Marsalek in multiple ventures. So now Marsalek has this mysterious guy out of Hong Kong. We don't know who he is, right? It's a business partner. It says in 2009, Marsalek's company settled with a client over a faulty shipment of flash drives. The $5 million settlement consisted of a $1 million upfront payment and a $4 million credit note to the client, Dexon. So the negotiations over the settlement began at some point after 2007. So they got in some trouble for sending them faulty equipment, I suppose, and they sued them for $5 million. And that's a lot of money, and that's a lot for a settlement, right? That's kind of crazy. So I wonder what happened with those faulty products. So it says CNBC was unable to locate Marsalek's business partner. So this mysterious business partner in Hong Kong, right? It says court documents don't show whether Starline made good on either the $1 million lump sum settlement fee or the $4 million credit note. Starline was forced into bankruptcy proceeding by the end of 2009. Court records from 2013 show. So the reason why it went under, right, and we'll get into more exactly why it went under, but it was mostly because of the great financial crisis, right? So it says over the course of 2008 and 2009, Marsalek and his partner were transferred nearly $3 million in payments from Starline, according to the documents. Interesting. It says over $1 million was paid out to Marsalek personally in what the court said were impugned payments. I think that word's impugned. I had to Google that before we got started here, but impugned payments. His partner took home nearly $1.9 million in similar payments. So it's not uncommon for business execs, especially in bankruptcy, to get some sort of payment before like people that are affected You know what I mean? Like, that's why there's LLCs and those sorts of things. So other, the business gets sued and those sorts of things before the actual person gets sued, right? Like their assets and those sorts of things get liquidated so they can pay all their, debtors and stuff like that. So it says, it appears that there were a concerted effort to strip the cash from Starline, Judge Anthony Chan later wrote in a court filing, right? So apparently that what they were saying is, allegedly Marszalek and his mysterious business partner were trying to get a bunch of money as they could, right? It says some $300,000 was paid by Starline to a British Virgin Islands holding company called Techram, the documents say. That money went through Marszalek, and Techram eventually returned it to Starline. So it probably got washed, right, in the British Virgin Islands, right? It says by 2009, Starline had collapsed. So we know about that, right? We know about the company failing. It says Marszalek's representative told CNBC in a statement that Starline went under because customers failed to pay back credit lines that the company had extended them during the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008. Now, of course, the Great Recession of 2008 was something that not a lot of people saw coming. Some people did, but most people didn't. Right. So it says Starline borrowed that money from a Standard Chartered Bank of Hong Kong SCB. So if you guys didn't know, like, this business loaned out credit to their customers, right? But you'll see right here, it says, quote, the bank then turned to Starline and the co-founders to repay the lines of credit and filed for liquidation of the company, the statement said. So Starline owed $2.2 million to SCB. So check this out. Marszalek said on Twitter that he had personally guaranteed the loans from the bank to Starline. So the bank is going to go after Kris, right, and the mysterious Hong Kong guy, right, instead of going after the customers. So the customers owe the company, but the banks are not going after the customers, right? They're going after Kris, right, and the business, right? They want to get it liquidated, right? So it says, as a result, when the bank forced Starline into liquidation, Marszalek and his business partner were forced into bankruptcy as well, right? The court found that the $300,000 transfer to Techram was, in truth, a payment to Marszalek. So they're saying that he paid himself more money. So Marszalek said the money in the Techram transfer was repayment of a debt Starline owed to Techram. The judge described the claim as inherently incredible, right? So the judge didn't believe it. So, quote, there is no explanation why the repayment had to be channeled through him or why the money was later returned to the debtor, the judge said. So it looked pretty shady, right? I mean, so check this out. This is like a little bit of story of his new business, riding the Groupon wave. And remember how big Groupon was back in the day? I mean, people still use it, right? But it was huge back in the day. So bankruptcy didn't sever the ties between Marszalek and his partner to keep them out of business for long. At the same time Starline was shutting down, the pair set up an offshore holding company called Middle Kingdom Capital. Middle Kingdom was established in the Cayman Islands, a notorious hub for tax shelters, right? And a lot of people with money make sure they have their money, their wealth in places where the tax rules and tax laws are a little more lenient. Like, a lot of people move to Puerto Rico or Dubai if they're crypto millionaires because there's no tax on crypto in those places. So a lot of rich people do this. This is not abnormal. It says the connections between Middle Kingdom and Marszalek and his partner, who each held half of the firm, was exposed in 2017 Paradise Paper leaks. The Paradise Papers, along with the Panama Papers, contain documents about a web of offshore holdings in tax havens. They were published by an international consortium of investigative journalists, right? So maybe they were, it showed that they were, evading some taxes, right? Middle Kingdom was the owner of Buy Together, which in turn owned Be Crazy, an e-commerce venture that Marszalek had started pursuing. So this is Be Crazy, his group that he was talking about, right? That business, that second business that he ran. Similar to Groupon, retailers could use Be Crazy to sell their products at steep discounts. Be Crazy would process payments, take a commission on goods sold, and distribute funds to the reseller. So kind of like a middleman, right? A lot of people would use this. Service. So it says sellers and buyers flock to the site, right? Everybody wants to use it. Drawn in by the considerable discounts on everything from spa passes to USB power banks, Buy Together drew attention from an Australian conglomerate called iBuy, which was on the verge of an IPO and pursued the acquisition of Be Crazy as a part of a plan to build out an Asian e-commerce empire. So what this is saying right here is that another company, right, another conglomerate called iBuy saw Be Crazy and wanted to buy it, right? Buy it out. They were about to go public. They wanted to be part of this, right? They wanted to buy it from Marszalek. So it says court filings and Australian disclosures show that that to seal the deal, Marszalek and his partner had to remain employed by iBuy for 3 years and clear their individual bankruptcies in Hong Kong court. Remember that they were still dealing with all the bankruptcy issues and those sorts of things. A lot of businessmen and businesswomen, they can file for bankruptcy. It doesn't mean they're ruined. It doesn't look good on your credit history, right? But you can still start a business and succeed. A lot of successful business people in their current business maybe went through bankruptcies and those sorts of things. So that's not abnormal. It says the partner's uncle came forward. So the mysterious Hong Kong partner's uncle came forward in front of the court to help his nephew and Marszalek clear their names and debts, filing show. So maybe this guy paid the rest of their debts and helped them clear their name, right? While the judge called the uncle's involvement suspicious, he allowed him to repay the debt. As a result, both Marszalek and his partner's bankruptcies were annulled, so no more bankruptcies. A few months later, in October 2013, Be Crazy was purchased by iBuy for $21 million in cash and stocks, according to the S&P Capital IQ. So this is what happened when Kris told us that he was able to sell his business. A month and a half after buying Be Crazy, iBuy went public. Marszalek was required to remain until 2016. So check this out. The company struggled after its IPO as competition picked up from bigger players like Alibaba. Now, Alibaba is a powerhouse, right? It says Marszalek was eventually promoted to CEO of iBuy in August 2014, according to filings with Australian regulators. Marszalek renamed iBuy as Insogo in an effort to retool the company. Insogo continued to suffer, running up losses in 2015 equal to over $50 million. So this company that was lucrative started, experiencing some losses. So this is the messed up part that I think is it's really bad. So it says by the following year, Insogo had already reportedly laid off half of its staff. In June 2016, Insogo closed down operations. That same day, Marszalek resigned. After the sudden shuttering of Insogo, sellers on the site told the South China Morning Press that they never received proceeds from items they already delivered as part of a final blowout sale. So this company had this huge blowout sale, right? And then they immediately shut down. So now all their vendors and customers are screwed. So these people never got payments because the system's no longer there. So what about all the goods people sent out? What about all the money that was supposed to be owed to them? What about them, So it says, many sellers had already sold their goods, but had yet to receive any money from the platform at this time. Their money thus vanished altogether with the online shopping platform, according to translated testimony from a representative for a group of sellers before Hong Kong Legislative Council. One seller told Hong Kong the standard that she lost more than $25,000 in the process. So that's kind of messed up, right? It seems to us that they wanted to make huge business from us one last time before they closed down. The seller told the publication. So what it seems like to me is that, they had a huge blowout sale and then they shut the company down and took the money. Marszalek's representative acknowledged to CNBC that the shutdown angered many customers and consumers, you think, and said that this was one of the reasons Kris was opposed to the decision. Now it says, welcome to crypto. It says, Marszalek moved quickly onto his next thing. The same month he resigned from Insogo, Forest Limited was incorporated, marking Marszalek's entry into the crypto market. So if you guys don't know, Forest, it was called Monaco. Monaco. So Monaco was rebranded as Crypto.com in 2018. So Monaco was the original name of Crypto.com. And the rest of this is about Crypto.com and those sorts of things. Now, what do I think of this story? And this is a long video. And if you're here, thank you for sticking with me this long. What do I think of what happened? The first couple of businesses, it seems normal to me. I mean, there was a lawsuit. Some people lost, they sent people faulty hard drives. They settled, right, for $5 million. I mean, it's none of our, maybe he paid him back. Maybe he didn't pay him back. I'm sure they legally they have to pay the full $5 million back. Him failing at his first business is not a big deal to me. Now, this next business where they have like a Groupon business. Now, it is messed up to shut down business abruptly and not pay people. But these sorts of things happen all the time in business. And this is not something he did over and over again. And after this, he created Crypto.com. Now, they said, he started it in 2016 or something like that? Yeah, I mean, since 2016, Crypto.com has been operating pretty well. It's been like, 7 years, right? 6, 7 years. So far they've been doing All right. Right now, this hit piece to me is a little crazy. It's kind of a hit piece. It's kind of trying to shine him in a bad light. It's obvious, but I don't think they really hit the target. Now, do I trust Kris and Crypto.com? I do. They had the third party Mazars group go in there, even though CNBC wanted to spin it and make it seem like there's some sort of Trump people. You know, I still think that it's a good auditing company. I read the reviews and those sorts of things. They're very, very trusted. And now, and we'll get into this here, watch this video here, you can actually check your proof of reserves on their site. So let's check this out. Nice. So you can see, like, you can literally just keep the contract address, right? Yeah, it says find a copy of the Merkle leaf, and you can paste it on the auditor's page, and it's going to show you like the proof of reserve, which is going to be a nice feature, right, for people. And that's nice that they have that all in the app for people to sit there and use and kind of play around with. I think that kind of transparency is much needed. As for price action, not much going on with Cronos. Honestly, that's the biggest news. That's the hit piece. And if this is the hit piece, got a couple of more heat than that, because I don't think that shaked any investor confidence. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of his history? I don't think that it's that big of a deal. I think they tried and they missed. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Peace.